Hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you're having an incredible day, and may peace be upon you. And welcome to the show. It Takes Courage with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. And today is a very blessed, exciting, and, a great day because it is the launch of the book, Building Bridges. And in our current society where things are divided, things are broken, things are, a lot of dispute in our community and in the world, what would be the perfect way other than to build bridges and inviting people to cross the bridge? Because otherwise the bridges is just going to be like a pretty structure. But today I'm really blessed and a special time because I have with me some of the authors of Building Bridges that are going to share their tips, their takeaway. Why is this book so important and how you can use the techniques that they have shared in building bridges in your community. And remember, this book is available on Amazon. Today is the launch, so make sure you go grab the copy. The Kindle is $1.11. So 111, which is a very spiritual number. What more can you ask in this beautiful moment to build bridges? So make sure you grab your copy. And let's bring the authors from Building Bridges up on the stage. So we have Jean-Sébastien, bonjour, who is a French Canadian, but is currently traveling on his RV with his daughters, his daughter, 8-year-old, and also his son, who's still, a few months old. So bonjour, Jean-Sébastien. And we have Hannah Kim, who is the organizer and curator for TEDx Fullerton, who I feel is the vessel that made this message possible in our community. And we have Annette, who is one of the speakers at TEDx Fullerton and also the author of the book. So welcome, everybody, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. Excited to be here.
It's my pleasure. All right. So today is the launch day, and we're going to go straight to the point, okay, because people are busy. We're going to start with the question asking, what is the biggest takeaway from your chapter? So I'm going to focus on JS first, and then Hannah and Annette, I'm going to pop you in the green room, and then I'll bring you back in a moment, okay? So let me pop you back in a moment. All right, JS, let's go straight to the point. What is the biggest takeaway from your chapter in Building Bridges? And also your TEDx talk is, part of it.
Yeah. The biggest takeaway is pretty simple. It's that every space holds a certain potential that we can discuss about our differences. It sounds really vague, but my TEDx being about the fact that as a transgender man, I got the chance to see both sides of the restrooms, and I started with that, but that made me reflect on every spaces can become a potential for discussing your differences. So whatever is your differences, when you start to discuss about the little details of the daily life, that's where we learn the most about each other, and that's where we're building bridges.
Absolutely. And you specifically in your talk, you focused on the bathroom, right? The restroom, because before you were in the women's bathroom, and then now you are in the men's bathroom, which I believe your first time going on to the men's bathroom was at a football game here.
Yep.
Of all the places, right? You had to go to one of the busiest places during like a sport that is like people are crazy about. So what would be your say in the most important thing that your chapter talks about, or your talk talks about, for the audience to remember as they are building bridges in different spaces in their lives?
Well, what that experience in that football stadium made me realize is that I didn't know as much as I thought about men as a woman, even if I studied the men field or I, grew along men all my life. So that made me just come back to the fact that there's always more to know about each other. And my talk is, yes, the restrooms, but from there, I understood that every time I was like sharing my curious, like, it was like this on the women's side, and then it's this like on the men's side, people started sharing experiences. And it became really a conversation starter, spark, or however you name it. And that's a big part of how my talk came about. The fact that, yes, sometimes we discuss about the fact that being a transgender in the restroom is kind of controversial, or we want to discuss about it, but we never really discuss about it. Um, and it just put me in a special position where now I speak both languages and I can see both realities and I can be at a table and provoke those kind of discussions. So that's the interesting thing that I see now. What I thought was my difference or my weakness is actually now my superpower. So I can use it in my community to spark more, I would say, more knowledge, to give chance to men and women to discuss more with each other, learn more about each other, which is just like the general universal subject.
Yeah, exactly. Like learning about each other, because something happens when you go to the bathroom because the door is shut, right? Like it's closed. It's not like, you can't peep inside. If even if you wanted to, it would be really awkward. But those are human interactions that happens in that particular space. So if you want to know what those differences are, make sure you grab a copy of Building Bridges from Amazon. But JS, just a little teaser, just one. Can you give the audience one differences that you notice between the man and the woman's bathroom, and how do they build bridges in the community?
Well, the major one I always refer is how I felt the lost community on the men's side. Like on the women's side, there's an expectation of interacting with each other. Like, people talking about stalls as they wash hands. But on the men's side, it's a complete like silent treatment, like no eyes contact, nothing. That's a major one that I always pull out of. I was taken aback on how different that would feel. Like I never thought of this. So this is one of the insight of the difference that I see on the men's side.
Brilliant. And make sure you grab a copy of Building Bridges. And speaking of that, JS, I remember going to the women's bathroom, and then I saw the ladies, I believe either it was her shoe or her bag, I forgot. And I complimented her because it was so, it was so pretty. And all of a sudden, I got the details on why she's wearing it. Like she has a wedding, but she didn't have time to go back home because her kid has hockey practice. So she's going to go from there to the hockey, or from the hockey to the wedding. Like it's a lot of details, right? In the woman's section. And then on the men's side, it can be like no conversation or no word, or maybe a couple of words. And I feel like that's something that we can spark conversation on, like JS said. So JS, thank you so much for that insights, and I'll bring you back in a short while I will spotlight Hannah and also Annette. Thank you, JS.
Thanks.
Okay, let's bring on my twinsy today. We both have white tops today. Hannah, who is the curator for TEDx Fullerton, and I believe that she is, the way I see her is like the bridge, connecting with the communities, connecting with the speakers, connecting with you guys here out there. She is the vessel for what could happen today is made possible because of her. So Hannah, what is your biggest takeaway from your chapter? So Hannah wrote a special message in the book, Building Bridges.
Mm-hmm. So today's world feels deeply divided, especially through the advent and the usage of social media, where the algorithm the algorithms constantly reinforce what we already believe. So when we have disagreements with people, it almost feels like we live in different realities. And instead of being defensive and instead of kind of approaching conversations as if I am right and you are wrong, I think it's really important to approach each conversation, especially with people we disagree with a sense of curiosity rather than certainty and judgment. And so that's my message, that, if we want to truly create a more united world, we need to start building bridges one conversation at a time and approaching those conversations, especially with those we disagree with curiosity rather than judgment.
Absolutely. And also, like in her section, the special message, Hannah shared about an incident or a story that kind of sparked this conversation of building bridges. So if you want to know what that incident was, make sure you grab a copy of Building Bridges. It's available on Amazon today, and special launch price, the Kindle, is $111. Not $111. I wish that could be it, but $1.11. So that's a really fabulous launch price. So Hannah, you also share some tips in the book about how people can stand out, or how people can stand out in that TEDx application. So do you want to give a little bit of a tip, like one tip that people can take away on how they can stand out with TEDx organizers?
Yeah. So, I receive a lot of applications and people wanting to tell their stories, and a lot of them have just incredible stories to share. But when TEDx curators look at is not your stories. Yes, your stories are important, but that's not the first thing that they look at. They look at your idea. What is the idea? Is it unique? Does it offer a new perspective? Does it solve your community's problem? And so you may have this amazing story, but if your idea is very generic, like, how kindness changes your community, that's not a very unique idea. But you can frame that in a different way by saying how planned act of kindness instead of random act of kindness can change and transform your community, then that's a different perspective on kindness, because we heard of random acts of kindness, but planned, scheduled act of kindness, that's a different perspective. So, kindness is not a new idea, but how we approach kindness, that's a new idea. That's a unique idea, and that solves our community's problems of disconnection. And so really spend a lot of time on honing the idea and how that solves the community's problem.
Absolutely. And Hannah was our speakers at TEDx Huntington Beach, where my team and I curated the event. I believe it was 2023. I mean, time just passes, like it convoluted. So I believe it was last year, right, Hannah, 2023. And she had like an amazing experience there that kind of propelled her to create TEDx Fullerton. And that is really an impact that you can make by taking one brave action. So don't underestimate the small little acts that you do by putting yourself out there. You just never know where it is going to lead. And touching base on Hannah's tip of making it like something unique, something personable, something different. And everybody has an incredible stories, but ask yourself, so what? So what? How does it solve a community's problem? How is it making an impact? What is something that you teach that nobody else is teaching? And let's say, me personally, when I receive applications, one of the biggest topic is mindset. So mindset is like a lot. People want to talk about mindset because they understand, which is important, that without mindset, you can't be who you are or do incredible things. But if you just say mindset helps me to achieve great things, like what Hannah was saying about kindness, like nobody cares. It's not going to buy us in. It's not going to stand out. So I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, he wants to talk about mindset. And I was like, oh, mindset. Oh my goodness. And how mindset is everything you need to do incredible things in the world. And I was like, okay, let's dive a little bit deeper, because You're going to get axed if you just talk about the general stuff. So we talk a little bit more, and it's actually an actor. So think about how you can personalize your experiences and frame it into something that is intriguing, from, let's say, blockbuster to somewhere, to something, right? From blockbuster as an actor, get on stages. I don't know, but just think about how your own personal experience, like Hannah, her talk is on singing. She's an opera singer. So she made it really personable by focusing on singing opera at prisons, because nobody does that. It's so contradicting and so exciting. So it just makes you stand out. So if you want to know more, we have a bonus chapter right at the end here on the tips on how you can stand out in your TEDx application. It's a combination of TEDx curators, TEDx speakers, and TEDx team members that put something special for you to help you share your message on influential stages. So make sure you grab your book, Building Bridges, on Amazon today. All right, Hannah, thank you. I'll bring you up in a moment, okay? So let me have Spotlight Annette here. Okay, Annette. All right, here we are. Annette, hello and congratulations. Building Bridges, and your talk is out today. I mean, your talk is going to be out in a few weeks, but Building Bridges, which is a curated version of your talk, is available today for those of you who are dying to hear what Annette says. Annette, tell us, what is the biggest takeaway that people can get from your chapter?
I think my biggest takeaway is what I learned from my daughter, Elizabeth, which is that you need to proceed with purpose, not passion. Passion's a good start. We need passion. We need to have ideas and sentiments that, discrimination is wrong. But unless you take action on that idea or on that passion, it's really just a wish. So passion is not enough, and we need to proceed to purpose.
Absolutely. So passion is one part of the ingredient. You need the other part with the purpose, and I believe also action to make it to build the bridge and to cross the bridge as well. So Annette, why don't you tell us a little bit about Elizabeth and how her story is so important and pivotal in building bridges in community?
Well, thank you. I love talking about my daughter, Elizabeth. She obviously had such a huge impact on my life as an adult. She was born early, a 29-week, 2-pound preemie. And because of that, she was very disabled from birth. She lived 17 years, and then unfortunately she did pass away from her mitochondrial disease, which we found out later that she had, as well as all of her other health conditions. She was very fragile. But she lived a full life, even though it was a short life. And she was my best teacher. I learned so much from her, and not in that goofy kind of syrupy way that people like to talk about, like, oh, isn't she a blessing? No, she really, really taught me about life and about how my voice matters. One voice can make a huge difference in this world. Just one person speaking up. And that's the action step that I want everybody to leave this chapter with and to leave my talk with, that you matter and you can make a difference just by using your voice.
Absolutely. So give us like a specific example, because I know you share it in your story, but just that one, high level example so that, people can always read the details in the book about that situation that you were in that made you kind of like used your voice so that Elizabeth gets her moment.
Yes. So I had 2 different stories in the book that were sort of contradicting each other. One where Elizabeth was excluded from a childhood activity, the Girl Scouts, because other people in our community couldn't find their way to include her in a special way. But then at our church, she was able to be included in a special activity when she received her first communion, because another mother spoke up and changed our entire experience that day. And that's what my story is all about. That just that one mom just didn't wait for somebody else to notice, didn't wait for somebody else to speak up, didn't wait for the perfect moment, just said something and completely changed our world. And we have this beautiful memory and this beautiful picture because she just spent 30 seconds and noticed us.
Yeah, and that's such a beautiful thing. Like she was aware, and more than anything, she spoke about it. She kind of like, "Hey, Elizabeth, come and join us," something along that line. So, however that he said it, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, come here." Because sometimes people either they're not aware or it's kind of like awkward for them. How do they approach things? Is this is like a situation that they probably are not familiar with. So I'm glad that that mom spoke into like, "Hey, Elizabeth, come and join us." Or you yourself can say, "Hey, come over here and join us." That's just, a fantastic way to build bridges. Like a memory just popped up to me. I recently, for the first time ever, joined a gym, and it's just next door to my home because I love to swim. So I would go there like the first time, going to that swimming pool, and there were people swimming back and forth on the laps, and I'm like, oh my goodness, where should I go? So I just kind of like go into a lane, and then one of the lady was like, "This is my lane," kind of thing. So I went out the pool, and then there was this guy, this older gentleman, and he was like, "You come over here and go on this side, and then the ladies there are gonna move because they're just, they're not really swimming." So that made me felt welcome in
Yes.
a way that, especially for the first time, not knowing the spaces situation, like JS was saying earlier, like each spaces has their own kind of like rules kind of thing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that gentleman kind of made me feel welcome and, helped me out to like enjoy the swim. I might just say people are very territorial with their lanes,
And with so many things in life, it's so many things that people are territorial about, but just one small, minute action can change what community looks like for so many people.
Absolutely. It's just such a privilege. And grab Building Bridges available from Amazon is $1.11 today. 111 is a very spiritual number to connect us, unite us, to hopefully kind of give us a different perspective on building bridges and crossing bridges, available on Amazon today. So let's bring up all the other speakers. And I also have a special message from Laura here.
Hello, my name is Laura Clancy. I work with the authors on building bridges as a mindset strategist. It's so exciting that today is launch day. I am so excited also that they were able to get on the big red dot and share their big ideas. My big idea for anybody thinking about writing a book or stepping on the red dot is to just lead with curiosity. Where can you go? Where can your big idea go and shape the world? These authors and these speakers have already done that, but it was a lot of work along the way, and they just need to be congratulated for just trusting the process and moving through each day until the big days arrived. And so the big day is here, the author launch on the 23rd, and I'm so excited for everybody, and I look forward to seeing where else these big ideas have spread. Congratulations, everyone. Take care. Hello.
Thank you so much, Laura. Such a pleasure to have her share. And Laura was, the one that kind of like coined the term when we were writing the chapters together. Like she coined the term, just shut up and write. So that's what the authors did. They literally shut up and write, because sometimes you're so busy with multiple things going on that it's hard for you to kind of write. So thank you, Laura. Thank you for holding the space. Thank you for the guidance. And thank you, like Laura said, it's time to congratulate all the authors here and contributors as well for being part of this community of building bridges, and hopefully along the way invite people to build and cross bridges together. So let's wrap up with the final question. We'll start with JS. What is one action, one specific action that people can do to build and cross bridges today?
I think I'll leave you guys with almost the same question I did in my TED talk, but start discussing about restroom with someone of another gender. You'll be surprised about what you're going to find, but I think it applies to all situations in life, just to be more aware of the daily life and try to flip the script. That's what I was doing this weekend in a restaurant, just trying to, oh, would a woman would have done the same thing, or would a man would have done the same thing. And it's crazy the ideas that can pop up in your mind and then create discussion afterward if you want to do it.
Right. So have a discussion about restroom or different spaces that if you want to with people that you meet, which reminds me, JS, like at hockey the other day, because my son abroad plays ice hockey. So in the restroom as well, I wash my hands, and suddenly this guy just came and just washed his hands, not looking left and right. And I was like, am I like in the right bathroom or something? Which I was. And I was like, hi. And then he looks at me, oh, shoot, like kind of like, I'm so sorry kind of thing. But literally, he did not look left and right. He just came out and just went to wash his hands, not even look at the mirror, not even left and right. So I think like it's kind of like what you were saying, JS, that's different, right? It's a tunnel vision kind of thing. And of course, after that, he apologized because our kids play in the same team. It would be really awkward to kind of meet again with that awkwardness, but it was fine. But I just realized a moment ago the differences. Yeah. So thank you. Like create conversations in different spaces, at the pool, in the restroom, at the restaurant you were mentioning earlier. So thank you, JS. Okay, Hannah, what's one action, one specific action that people can use to build bridges?
I think you can start a conversation with people you know that you don't agree on everything, and lead with curiosity. And also, and in the conversation, I think it's really important to not dim your light to make others feel more comfortable. Because Laura, the lady who just came in and talked about, her experience in helping with TEDx Huntington Beach, she was the reason why I applied to TEDx Huntington Beach the second year. And I went to her TEDx Huntington Beach the first year, and that's where I met Izzy. And that's where that's where I experienced TEDx Fullerton the first time. And then Laura encouraged me to apply. And then I was able to deliver my TEDx talk the following year. And that got me to curate TEDx Fullerton, which led you to be TEDx speakers. And so I would say start conversations with others, and don't dim your light. Don't be apologetic about your greatness, and let your greatness be a permission for others to be great as well, and start building bridges of greatness that way. Because if it wasn't for Laura and her willingness to step into that scary red dot, if Izzy wasn't willing to do that, it's like a chain effect, right? Izzy did it, and then Laura did it, and I did it, and now you did it. And now you can continue that ripple effect and give others the permission to step on the red dot and be great as well.
Absolutely. Just, I just got goosebumps when you were saying that, because sometimes, Hannah, you don't realize what you do until years later, because you're so in the moment, you're so in the momentum. Organizing TEDx events is a lot as well, like a million different pieces, the same with the book. And actually, Laura met Hannah through Facebook ads. That's what
Yes.
she told me. So Hannah appeared, something like Hannah popped up on her Facebook page on an ad, and then Hannah was following Laura everywhere, kind of thing. That's what ads do. And then Laura reached out because she was trying to figure out a few things, and then it leads on to they actually met, I believe, before the TEDx event, if I remember correctly, because Laura was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to come in your area and I'm going to meet this lady, which is, Hannah. So they came, both Laura and Hannah met, and then she was invited to TEDx Huntington Beach. I remember meeting Hannah at TEDx Huntington Beach. And then, Hannah, since then, we've met for sushi. She's been to my house a few times. We've been to the beach together. So, kind of like creating that connection and not just creating, but nurturing that connection. There's a saying that don't be careful of the bridges that you burned, kind of thing, because you just never know. Even if you disagree with someone, just be mindful of the bridges that you burn, because you just never know the rippling impact that it could happen. So great job, Hannah. And let's wrap up with Annette. So Annette, what's one, I know you mentioned one key action earlier, but just share one more insight from you that Elizabeth taught you to be who you are today.
Well, because of Elizabeth, I am an advocate for people in my community that don't always have a voice. And so the message that I left you with earlier is that one person really can make a difference and one voice really matters. And I would like for everybody listening to take one space that they're in their community or one event and look around and ask yourself the question, is this inclusive for anyone who may be here, who may be coming here, and who may be involved? Because a lot of times we don't ask that question. We don't think beyond ourselves. And instead of having to speak up to change something, wouldn't it be nice if that was taken into consideration in the planning process? And I just want to say thank you to Hannah, because first of all, I loved what you had to say, but she is the most supportive person on this planet, and it has been such an honor to work with her through this process. I've learned so much from you. Thank you.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And bringing back to be inclusive. So on the cover of Building Bridges, so we created the cover. And if you can see, there are people like crossing the bridges. And one of the things that Annette mentioned, hey, maybe we can be more inclusive. So Annette really practices what she says. Maybe you can be a bit more inclusive and, include, what was it, the word that you used, Annette? I forgot.
Disability representation. There wasn't any disability representation that was obvious in the picture.
Yeah. So, and then I was like, okay, great. How does that look like? Because, and then Annette gave me an example. So here we have disability representation with a person. I mean, and I know it's so small, but if you grab the book, you can see it. A person walking with a guided dog and a person on a wheelchair. And there's also like a lady on a hijab. I think that's me. I don't include myself in that. But I just told, not really my style, but I just told my designer, make sure you have all these people included. And that is one of the ways you can create inclusion, so that when people see it, they might not straight away figure it out, but they can feel the vibe of the inclusion and the diversity and the connection and the building bridges. Okay, peeps, so let's wrap it up with fill in the blanks here with one word. Building bridges happens when? So we'll start with Annette. Building bridges happens when?
You use your voice.
You use your voice. Hannah, building bridges happens when?
When you're not defensive.
When you're not defensive. Awesome. And JS, building bridges happens when?
You dare to lean toward each other.
You dare to lean towards each other. Fantastic. All right, everybody. Merci. Thank you for joining us in this session, building bridges on how you can create create, build, and cross bridges within your community using simple, practical tools like using your voice, create inclusion, create conversations in different spaces, and not be defensive or judgy. I mean, I think that being defensive and judgy is kind of like somehow part of us, but you can choose to, like, you know what, I'm going to put that aside and I'm going to ask this question, or I'm going to invite this person. I'm going to say hello to this person. So thank you so much, everybody. Make sure you grab the book, Building Bridges, here, that is available on Amazon for $11.11, 111, very spiritual number for your community and unity, as well as the proceeds for today's launch is going to be donated to Global Girls Glow, in which we are actually impacting and building bridges in our community to help young girls be brave with their voices. All right, JS, Hannah, and Annette, thank you for being here.